All right, we are live, guys, for another episode of DCA. I'm here with InvestAnswers, CTO Larsson. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome. It's the Monday DCA pump is here. We can analyze that shortly, I think. And market is crazy. And I know you're going to talk a bit about this later, but the banana zone, explain to the audience, we've gone from the boredom zone to the banana zone. And I want to dig into that with you as well. CTO.
Absolutely fantastic. And DCA anticipation pump is back, and we've had some incredible price action. Our support from last show has held total 7 times. So I'm very excited. Actually, fantastic price action today. I think this could be it.
Is this it? It feels like we've had a lot of false dawns. We do seem to seemingly, what we're talking about here is every single time we seem to go live, we seem to be pumping, and we're talking about immediate breakout. And then for the rest of the week, we do absolutely nothing. So yeah. I am a little bit scared that we're going to do that again. But it does look like we hit 71K ish just before we went live, and then we seem to have rebounded back to kind of 70K. And it feels a bit more Bitcoin led today. ETH is kind of hanging out just above 3,800, and Solana is still hanging out in the 160s. But does feel like this could be Bitcoin breaking out of this 3-month range that we have been in, the boredom zone, as you were saying before. We've been in here for a very, very long time, and everyone's been waiting for the banana zone. I think a lot of people have been cut up in this sideways chop. We've had 14 days of straight inflows. I think just over 2 billion of inflows over that time, and we've still been going sideways. Do you think this is us exiting, James? Do you think this is us finally getting out of the boredom zone?
Well, this chart here, and I'm sure CTO will show another chart, but X marks the spot of the exact time of our DCA shows over the last 6 weeks. And there's a very interesting phenomenon. First of all, the first 3, we were hovering around that 62, 64K range. Then we had the leg up. Now we're hovering around that 66, 72, 71K range. In fact, 3 weeks ago, we hit 72K plus 72.8, I think, on the show. And then last week, it spiked again during the show. We got to 72K. And right now, we hit 71,200, I think, or 70,200, and then it fell back down again. So sadly, I'd like to say breakout perhaps, but I see it as kind of the market trying to tap glass. You got to tap it a few times before you break through. This is the 3rd tap of this level that I see here happening during the show. We might mean revert back a little bit, but eventually the momentum is very strong, and you're dead right. We did have that $2.2 billion into the ETFs, and that money has to buy something. The question is, what are the short? And it looks like a lot of it is going straight from Grayscale straight into BlackRock. It's what I call the Black Mirror effect.
What do you think, CTO? It feels as though this has been this resistance level which you flagged a few times around 71K, and I actually just saw, like, I didn't actually see, but we seem to have dipped below, back down to 69K. It's gone below 3,800. Like, we have kind of touched near that again and retraced. Do you see us now in a narrower range where people are chopping themselves up, or does this feel like it has enough momentum to get out of this?
I think the situation is really clear here, actually. We, as viewers might recall, I talked about this level as the resistance at 71,400. Price rejected there, and it wasn't taken out of the blue. That resistance was established already back here in March and early April. Then, after price was rejected there, you see this level here. That was where price rejected on the 23rd of April. That previous resistance now turned into support, which often happens. A previous key level becomes a new key level in the other direction. So look here how many times that held. It held 1 time, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times yesterday. Can zoom in on that. So that is the new range we're in. This is the support at 67,225, I put it at, and resistance is 71,400. And this is a pretty tight range. there's really no need to speculate too much. Perhaps we will keep bouncing around here for a few times, but if we break out of this level, so we get a different price action than we got here in March, then we got here in April, then we got here in May. If suddenly we break out here and don't immediately revert, that means that the sellers that were offloading big volumes enough to turn the price here, they're not selling anymore. Okay, then we have a different situation. So that's the level that I will watch. Of course, I'm optimistic. I believe in this asset. The trend is up. I love Bitcoin. So, of course, I'm rooting for a breakout here. But, of course, I don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what the market will do next. Have these people finished selling, or do they have like an infinite supply left at this level? Who knows? But I think we're inching closer and closer to a breakout because the support level has been so strong. See here, every time price dipped below, there was someone or a lot of people buying at those levels, creating these wicks, sending the price immediately back up on the same day. So that means that there is a strong support there, there's strong buying interest. And if it held that many times, if it held like 7 times, okay, perhaps it will hold an 8th time also if we get there. And that means that the probability for an upside breakout increases when we have that strong support in an uptrend. So I'm optimistic here. And yeah, that's my take on the market here.
There's also a little bit of breaking news happening as we speak. GameStop halted New York Stock Exchange, and Berkshire Hathaway apparently fell 99%. Just reading the live chat here. So it's nice that crypto is still strong while TradFi is falling apart. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I saw the headline before we went live that Berkshire Hathaway has dropped 99%. To be clear, Berkshire Hathaway owns 3% of all of the US government debt right now. So if it's fallen 99%, I think we're all in a lot of trouble. At the same time, yeah, it does feel like that may have caused a little bit of volatility as we went live. It's interesting what you said. Like, we've hit that bottom level so many times. We've hit that top level so many times. I think a lot of people, they get out of the market and they only get in when they feel like we're going to have this breakout. So they'll rush in at that 70K level. And there's been, half a dozen now or just over of false breakouts both ways. And I think it's been a very, very dangerous market to just not be in spot, chill, know that these periods last for a long time. I know this from last year and actually from whenever I've traded crypto. Whenever we go into these like long ranges, often you need a little bit of a flush. Like, we normally touch that bottom level and then we do like a parabolic move up. So part of me is looking for that touch of the bottom level again. And then that's when I'll go in, because you sometimes get these very violent moves higher. Once people start piling into like short, that's the only real time I've ever seen us get out of these really, really long ranges. And it does feel like we're in that for a while. So even today, I wasn't getting super bullish. I was like, this feels too gradual as we approach 70K. For us to get through there, it needs to feel violent. It needs to feel like, wow, we are just about to smash through and everyone's missing it. So that's kind of what I'm still looking for in the market here.
And you did right. There's 2 things I'd like to add to that. One is 15 days matter every year for Bitcoin. All the gains happen in 15 days. So be on the train for those 15 days. The other thing is Mr. 100 sold about 490 Bitcoin this morning. For the first move in 2 weeks. Now, 490 Bitcoin to them is 0.07% of their bag. And they do that. They test liquidity. They test the impact of selling on the actual market, and they buy a lot. So compared to what they've bought, it is a small spit in the bucket, but still that does rattle some people perhaps.
Yeah, I can imagine that does rattle some people. I know they've sold before, and then the next day they turn around and buy like 3x what they sold. So the sells are always smaller than the buys, I think, is the key thing. So in terms of the main things that's happened over the last week, it was a little bit of a quiet week for macro. The PCE data came in slightly softer than expected. So the market was meant to rally on that. But then on Friday, we did see again another 180 in Biden's potential crypto policy here, seemingly moved to veto one of the recent pieces of regulation that came in that would allow highly regulated financial institutions to own Bitcoin. He said he wouldn't veto it, or at least signaled that he wouldn't veto it, and then did veto it. So really did set the stage again for a Democrat versus Republican view on crypto. Trump is continuing to be very pro crypto. I think in the last week we saw that he has taken advice from the Bitcoin Magazine team, and has been also had RFK, which has gone very pro Bitcoin in the last week. So it does seem to be setting the stage. Does that just feel like a shot in the foot? Scaramucci came out and said something similar. It's like, I don't know why you've done this. You know, it just didn't seem like you seemed like maybe you would make a more level playing field. Do you think he just felt like he was going to be too outmaneuvered from a populist standpoint here and just thought he'd stick to his guns? Or what do you think about that?
Me or
yeah, why not you, James? You're the American.
I'm on the ground here. First of all, it's totally a suicidal political move. It's dumb, but I honestly do not believe Biden is making decisions. I believe people are putting paper in front of him. I believe people are writing his tweets. People are writing his statements. He argued that overturning SAB 121 would jeopardize the well-being of consumers and investors, which is Warren speak, which is Gensler speak. It's kind of constrained the SEC ability to address future issues in the crypto space. What was really bizarre, the most bizarre thing is immediately, both before he vetoed the bill and after, the American Bankers Association, they came out and said, please, please, please do not veto this bill. They represent the banks, okay? The banks, yes, they hated crypto for the longest time. They were giving Warren brown envelopes, $70 million worth to kill crypto. Now, all of a sudden, it's the embrace or die thing. You know, at first they fight you and then you win. That's exactly what's happening with the American Bankers Association. Now their customers look at BlackRock and they look at Fidelity and they look at all the action they're having. They want a piece of that too. So, okay, first of all, the 50 million American voters want crypto. Now the American banks want to custody it. And this guy, or whoever is behind the curtain, is trying to still kill it and make it impossible to custody. I think it's extremely bizarre. And it's another crazy move. But also, I've got this other weird theory that perhaps the Democrats don't want to be in office next year because they're making all the wrong moves. Perhaps they don't want to win.
Maybe. Maybe. I did just think it was such a weird move, but then I was just trying to piece through it, and maybe he felt like he was backtracking and that made him look weak, or maybe he just felt as though he was always going to lose that position to Trump or to RFK, for example. Like he might as well just be part of the anti-crypto movement and assume that might be able to be strong enough as well to win voters. Like I think we saw something like 1/10 of the US population owns crypto and 1/3 of it seemed to care about crypto policy. At the same time, he may have just been like, this isn't as populist an issue as it could be, and I'd rather just stick to my guns. But I just thought it was so weird because, like you said, everyone is for it. Even the banks, even the TradFi people that, a lot of people in crypto think they're going to displace are for this. And this wasn't anyone that could own. The rule itself was highly regulated, i.e. banks could own crypto assets, and he's come in and vetoed it, which basically just stops the ability for crypto to be kind of more centralized, I would say, or more in the hands of TradFi. So again, it just seemed like a very, very strange move. Did you have any thoughts on this, CTO?
I also can't really understand it. I mean, I'm not sure which lobbyist would push for that. Like, it's clearly wasn't the bank lobbyists either. I mean, this was giving them more opportunities, more flexibility, as I understood it. So it's very hard to understand this move. I don't know, it almost felt like a mishap. Like, you wrote the policy document 2 weeks ago, what you were going to do, and then everything changed the week before and you forgot to update the document. Something, it almost felt like something. I have no idea. If anyone has any good speculation in the comments, welcome to share. It seemed like you say, really dumb. I mean, of course, it could be that they felt that they're losing anyway. The pro crypto people will anyway go with the other one. And then instead of being like semi-pro crypto, you will not win anyone's vote, maybe. And maybe you can as well be against. I don't know. But I mean, the big change was really the SEC decision here, I feel. So, and that's already happened now. So I don't know. I have no idea. Happy for any insights. If anyone works, any viewer works in the political domain close to the action, please share your insights. There's surprisingly, I wouldn't say surprisingly, but every time something comes up and I feel I have no idea, turns out that someone viewing is sitting right in the middle of the action and actually knows the answer. It has surprised me so many times. So please share in the comments, guys.
Yeah, I'm sure we do have some people who are close to the action. I mean, you have to assume that this close to the election is normally going on poll data. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe we're missing something in the core Democrat vote here that meant that they were going to be so for this. But it seems as though it was kind of criticized throughout, from a political standpoint and from like a financial standpoint. Like, not many people thought this was a good move from Biden. Apart from probably Gary Gensler, but like you said, we did have the big win here was the ETH ETF. We did see BlackRock and I think a few of the other firms applied for S1. They did the S1 filings, which is kind of the next stage of the ETF filings. It looks like we will probably get them later this month. So we are probably looking for an ETH ETF towards the end of June, at the very latest, early July. ETH has been slightly outperforming Solana, as, let's say, the altcoin of Bitcoin, and it's still had quite a bit of strength. I know today it's not trading that well, but yeah, it's still been seeing decent strength, at least in the L1s. It feels as though we're probably going to have a positive, I would say, few weeks here for ETH until the ETF. What's your view about after that? Do you think this ETH Solana trade is medium term still bullish for ETH here with the ETF, or like how are you viewing things? Solana has obviously underperformed by about 20-25% over the last few weeks now, and it hasn't really bounced. It's kind of just hanging out near those lows, so it's not really been the best recovery, at least for Solana. What's your view here about how the next maybe weeks play out, James?
Well, first of all, remember Ethereum was languishing for 18 months.
Yeah, of course.
And then it's starting to make a recovery. It is still well under the ETH BTC area and ESOL. Yes, they did have a day in the sunshine, but this is typically a buy the rumor, sell the news. People are kind of waiting. The ETH maxis are so happy that this is happening. They think it's going to be an infinite flood. I think when you look at the aggregate amount of money, first of all, maybe 15% of the flows that Bitcoin got will go to the ETH ETF. Second, I think it makes no sense to launch an ETH ETF without staking. That is just ridiculous. Third, we have the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. That's going to unlock, and that's going to do the exact same thing Grayscale Bitcoin Trust did. It's just going to rain down tokens. The people in that trade are also the speculators. So expect some ETH sell pressure when that thing unlocks. Perhaps we'll see. We could be wrong. But the other thing, the most important thing too, for people that are worried that ETH is going to take all the sunshine from everything else, it's not. It's actually, if it is a success and it does go up in value, it'll raise the whole crypto market cap, which will actually raise Solana too. Because people will, at least clever people, will look at the relative market caps. And if you see something like Solana trading at 15% of the market cap of Ethereum, yet it does more across 12 different metrics, that's a bargain, I believe. CTO, what do you think?
Yeah, this is very interesting. I can share a chart first. So the backstory with Ethereum is really that it has this, 1+ year slump, went into this range, tried to break out on the upside twice, failed both times, couldn't find any momentum, and instead broke on the downside instead back in April. The only thing that this ETF news did was to bring it back into the same range. So this is the ETH to BTC chart, which I find is much easier to kind of understand what is going on with the project as such, because it filters out a little bit of the speculative price action of the whole market. So that's what we see. Price went up to exactly the same resistance as we established already back in autumn 2023 and rejected there. So it couldn't break out same as the previous breakout attempts, dropped down, and it's back in this range that it's been in now for, what is it? It's like 8-9 months. So it's been really uneventful so far, the Ethereum price action. It did not kind of completely turn everything for Ethereum. It needs to break out here to kind of turn around. So
how does Sol ETH look?
Yeah, so Sol ETH looks like this. Let's let me disable this one. So the trend hasn't really changed, though there is a little bit more hesitation. The way I had drawn this parabola, it would be broken, but parabolas are kind of not an exact science. You
This is
never
very
know
good.
until after.
Looks good now.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't really know, but it rejected there at this resistance level 3 times and kind of is going into this range. But it hasn't collapsed. That's the interesting thing, because you could perhaps guess that, oh, wow, Ethereum got ETF. Solana does not have an ETF on the radar. This should completely collapse. Perhaps you would kind of expect to start looking like this. But as you see, it hasn't. It's on the same levels as it was in April before this news came out. So not much has happened. That's the interesting thing. Not much has happened in the ETH to BTC chart. Not much has happened in the Sol to ETH chart. The market is kind of hesitating. What does this mean? And I think James really highlight one key issue maybe for the ETF. And that is that, as I understand the situation, there's not going to be any staking, right? So that's an issue. That's a difference between the BTC.
Yeah, look, I think, I mean, Bitcoin, I don't think is staking either, right?
No, but I mean,
but like, I agree with you that would have been a big boon to the fees that these ETF providers would have been able to get, which I think would have really helped them. And I agree with you, and that's going to maybe make them less incentivized. In fact, I think you actually saw ARK Invest, right, who's one of the Kathy Wood's fund. They dropped out of the ETF this week for ETH. You both make some really good points. Firstly, ETH, I think I'm still bullish on all these assets, and I think you can be bullish on all of them. And short term, I think it's a little bit difficult to work out that trend. I think it's interesting to see that it hasn't really broken down their Sol ETH. I do think that the ETH market cap is at 450-ish billion, right? If that were to go up to, let's say, 5K, let's say it went up 30% from here, you're talking an asset which is around or just over 600 billion. The Solana market cap at 75 would look cheap to me. Like, if I was to sit here and go like, I am still spending all of my time, or a lot of people are spending a lot of their time who are regular crypto users on Solana, that would surprise me. So I think that ratio just doesn't quite make sense at the higher levels. I don't know how to describe that, but it would just look like it was out of place. So I kind of agree with you there, James. I would be unsurprised if ETH continues to outperform until the ETH ETF goes live. I think there's a variation in how much they think they're going to get in, and obviously this is also skewed by the idea that the Grayscale Trust has got just over 10 billion of ETH. Of which, again, we are assuming will have a very similar sort of move to the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and that a lot of funds will exit there, and that caused a little bit of a short-term sell-off. So I think we could see ETH outperform Solana probably up until the ETH ETF goes live. The range of assets, like people are saying, how many new assets are going to come in, and I think the range is somewhere between 10 to, let's say, 35-40% of what the Bitcoin ETF has got into it. I would assume that points to kind of low single digits of billions by the end of this year. So I think we probably go higher on ETH, but I do think, yeah, people just don't trust the periods of outperformance, because the thing that would really get me bullish on ETH is what we were speaking about last week. So we start to see BlackRock say, we are about to tokenize thousands of funds. You know, we are really going to go all in here, and haven't yet seen that, but we could very easily. The ETF itself, I think, is going to slightly disappoint people's expectations. It's more, for me, what it meant, which is that ETH is going to be a commodity, and let's see what what people then do on it. But if that's slow and we don't see the build out happen, I would get less constructive on ETH versus, let's say, the others, because not enough people in crypto daily are using it at the moment.
And zooming back, 2 more comments to add, because a lot of people here hold ETH and they love it and everything else. First of all, it's great news because it makes the whole asset class a bona fide asset class. And considering what happened, is ETH a security? That's the $1 million question. Obviously not. And Gensler won't answer that yes or no either way. The other thing is we do have an analog, and that was the ETH futures launch. They completely fizzled out. Okay, so if the spot does anything like the ETH futures did, it will not be a huge success.
Yeah, I think we're basically saying the same thing. Don't buy ETH for the ETH ETF because it probably won't be the trade of it's more about what could come after it. And let's see if the big financial institutions come in and be able to do stuff. What just happened last week with Biden probably means that could get delayed until maybe after the election. So again, there's a little bit more catch-up period here for maybe other chains. Interestingly, we saw that maybe the catch-up could be a little bit longer, though. This week, Solana, well, CME, which is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which hosts majority of futures and options trading in the US, they came out and said there are no immediate plans for Solana ETF. One thing they said, interestingly, was that was partly due to the fact that Solana had gone down, and they couldn't trust the pricing of Solana. And that feels to me like something that could take a little bit of time for them to kind of get back on board with. They're not the only place that can list a futures ETF, but I would be unsurprised if that means that we could be waiting a little bit more time before Solana goes down the ETF route itself.
Can I just add one more thing on the Ethereum ETF, because I forgot to actually answer your question. If I can share this chart again, this is the Bitcoin chart, just to remind everyone what actually happened because it feels so long ago, while actually it's just in January. What happened with the Bitcoin ETF was that price did rise on the anticipation of the trading start date. Then the trading start date, I think it was here on the 11th of January. Yeah. And then when it actually starts trading, the billions aren't coming in. The pension funds weren't sitting there, clicking the button on the minute. So then everyone gets disappointed and price drops. And it didn't drop massively, but this is like a 21.6% drop. And then the flows actually start coming in, and it starts getting this big actual rise. And the inflows are still continuing. So that's what happened last time. At least it's a reasonable base assumption. I'm just saying this so someone doesn't go out, because I think a lot of people did the mistake. They bought here. They bought when it actually started trading and expected that it's going to shoot to like 500K now, and it didn't. It backed up instead. So I'm just saying that, at least don't wait until the trading day and assume that it must start pumping now, because at least last time it didn't. It followed this buy the rumor, sell the news, and then there's actual fundamentals behind it after all, and then price starts going up. I just wanted to remind everyone about.
I think that's exactly what, again, we echo what we were saying, is that on the day as well, like, you see these big outflows from Grayscale, and that was a 20% move. And then you did start to see the inflows afterwards. I think that's the question. We will see this big transfer from Grayscale probably to the BlackRock trust. But then you'll also see, is this really going to see huge inflows, and what percentage of Bitcoin will those inflows be? Other ETH products, as James said, have slightly disappointed when that has come through. Who knows? This time it could like, I'm not going to say that's not going to be the case, but yeah, I don't expect it to be as violent a move higher as even Bitcoin after that came out, which is why I just think I can see ETH outperforming into the ETF and then slightly underperforming afterwards. Anyway, going back to the Sol ETF, the futures ETF. Remember, the reason why this is relevant is because the futures ETF is one of the main reasons why Ethereum was able to get a spot ETF. That reference of the futures ETF was very, very important for Ethereum getting a spot ETF. It now looks like Solana's path there could be longer. and probably would rely on the chain not going down, which, you know, it's done well for recently, but did go down once in the last 12 months. What do you think here, James? Does the ETF matter?
I didn't read that part. I think the big issue is the lack of clarity from the SEC, first and foremost. But at the end of the day, it's really simple. If the money wants a Sol ETF, Larry Fink picks up the phone, he makes it happen. It's that simple. The regulators do what the money runners want. Okay, so this is all crap. But anyway, when it comes to these ETFs, I don't think it would really matter anyway to Solana. I think what the big thing that does matter to Solana is Firedancer. That's it. That has to launch in November or the end of the year or early 2025. That will change the game for everything if it works. Not saying it will. And that will make the most decentralized change happen pretty much overnight. It'll bring scalability like we've never seen before in blockchain. And that's what matters, big picture. And that's 6 months away or less.
Yeah. Someone told me that might be an early 2025 thing now. So
yeah,
that was originally meant to be a summer 2024 thing. But I agree with you. Firedancer does change stuff. It would be very, very difficult for Solana to go down once it has two clients. So
it's impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, never say impossible with Solana, but
everything you get down. Yeah. Software.
Yeah. You get a solar flare. Yeah, exactly. I think I just don't think Solana needs the ETF. That's basically what I think. That's we spoke about this last week, is that I feel very comfortable in the narratives of Solana, very comfortable in the narrative of Bitcoin. And now I feel like ETH has got its narrative back. It's still a show me story, but the narrative for me is not really the ETF. It's more the institutionalization of funds going on blockchain. And I think that's still a show me story. So let's see what happens. But it's good. It's very, very good for crypto. The three biggest assets in crypto are going up. I just think that is very, very good for it as an asset class. But so that's been mainly what's been going on in the majors. We'll go back to
there's a piece of breaking news, by the way. There's a guy called, do you know Rodamar?
Yeah, of course.
He's at Consensus. He said 99.99% of the projects at this conference are complete BS. So and that's caused a little bit of consternation in the crypto space.
Casey Rodamar is the developer, Bitcoin developer behind Ordinals and Runes. Yep. So, and he's a known Bitcoin maxi. So, he's basically saying probably that Bitcoin is a Bitcoin maxi statement. That's what I would read between the lines to. So although I would agree that there's a lot of vapor in crypto, I think this is also tinged with this is a very Bitcoin maxi route. I think the idea is obviously that this is now going to lead to whole like Bitcoin L2 and ZK ecosystem. So he's probably in that camp. What we have seen in terms of adoption, it has been quite a big week in terms of adoption from payment providers, most notably PayPal. So we gave you some bearish piece of news on Solana there with CME, and then we said it doesn't really matter because Solana is being used, and PayPal came in and basically proved that to a point. They put out a piece which was I don't think I've read anything which is so bullish on Solana as what they wrote. Basically, they're going to be using Solana for their native stablecoin, and they talked up the idea of low fees. It's fast, it's reliable, it's decentralized, it's perfect for building a payments provider, for a payment provider building upon. You're also seemingly going to be able to have slightly, the identities are going to be slightly concealed even when you can transfer things on PayPal on Solana. I think there's a slight centralization around that concealment, but it feels like they're all in. And this is one of the biggest payment providers of the last 2 decades. And they are basically saying, if you could build a blockchain which is perfect for us, that's Solana. What did you make of this, James? I know you probably saw this and just grinned ear to ear.
Yeah, well, it was actually not only did they say it's the optimal chain for payments, but they said it's also going to be the optimal chain for tokenization. That was kind of buried deep in the article. And it's not just PayPal. And I know CTO has a lot of experience with PayPal. He's been monitoring their progress for the last 2 decades. And it is a well adopted chain. They also minted $40 million yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. They're kind of trying to catch up to Tether with their PYUSD. That's the PayPal stablecoin. But it's not just PayPal. I think it's also interesting to look at this other firm called Visa, which you may all know. Visa is now running most of their transactions, stablecoin transactions, on Solana. And this is another cool on-chain piece here. You can see that if you go back to, say, 2019, it was all Ethereum. And then you had a little bit of Binance stepping in there, a little bit of Tron. Now there's a new player in town. All the stablecoin transfer volume is Solana right now, especially for things like micropayments. So when people have very little, they sniff out the best, cheapest, fastest way to move money around the world. And they figure out blockchains before they even understand what a blockchain is to save money. But I'm very interested in what CTO thinks of all of this as well, regarding, the PayPal, the evolution, them embracing crypto, which I think they realize, okay, for us to survive in the future, we need to wrap our arms around this crypto thing as soon as possible. And I think that is a big step forward too. And we're seeing a lot of that happening with the Visas, with the PayPals, and many more in the near future. They see threats coming from blockchain. Over to you guys.
Oh, absolutely. I am very interested in this topic, both from like an industry perspective, and it's like you said, James, I was a very early user of PayPal when they had just launched, what is it, 25 years ago, almost, something like that, when Elon Musk was still there. Then I feel it kind of stagnated a little bit. The website looks the same. I've been using it for my business because I have a course, right? And I need to collect money somehow. And I've been using PayPal because I loved it. I loved it. And then I've repeatedly been very disappointed by it. It's like you go somewhere and it says like CGI bin in the URL. That's something we used like 20 years ago to call a script, which was something very innovative as opposed to a static web page. And they kind of haven't really evolved. While Stripe has come up as the modern version of payment provider, but they have only had card payments. And what's interesting now is that both of them, both the giants, are going in crypto big time. If I can share this screen, I'd like to draw your attention to a couple of things here, because what is really great with this PayPal stablecoin that they have issued is that it is actually issued not by PayPal, it's issued by Paxos. And Paxos is the company that issued several stablecoins. They are also the ones that issued the BUSD stablecoin, which at the time I think was the best stablecoin because that was the only one that was actually bankruptcy remote. I don't know if everyone still remembers it, but USDC depegged here last year, when that Silicon Valley Bank turned out they had money there, and no one knew if that bank was going under or not. And USDC depegged. I was running up the stairs to kind of run into the office and try to do something about it. It was a scary moment. While the Paxos issued stable coins, they are actually bankruptcy remote. So if something goes bankrupt, it shouldn't affect the deposits. So this is a good and real and kind of insightful thing they have done. And, going with Solana for high traffic transactions. And they said here they're interested in Solana's potential for enabling payments and peer-to-peer money transfers, as opposed to get into trading or something like that. So I think that this is perfect for PayPal, and I'm happy to see that they are actually modernizing and stepping up. It's good for the whole internet. It's good for crypto, and it is issued here by Paxos, which I think is also very good. Then we go to Stripe, because Stripe is also doing stuff. They haven't gotten as much attention, but they are doing the same. So they already have that if you are a vendor selling stuff on the internet, you can get paid in crypto already today with USDC. And the thing that they are adding now is that they are adding also customers to pay in crypto. And they said in this video here that they will launch it next in the summer.
In the summer, we saw that video a couple of weeks Maybe it was
Exactly,
one
and they're
of the first
showing
ones to
here
do it.
that
It's crazy, yeah.
you can have it, you can run it with Phantom Wallet, and it's a very insightful demo where they really highlight the speed of the Solana network and it is easy to use, and it's not like he said something in the video like it's not old crypto where you have to wait 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Here it's like a couple of seconds, and he showed it with Solana. So I feel that this is fantastic. It's fantastic for the adoption of crypto because these are the two major companies. It's no one else. It is PayPal and Stripe, and they're both doing it basically at the same time. This is fantastic, and I'm
And both on
happy and
Solana.
excited about it.
Both on Solana, which I thought was very interesting. The reason why he says it's not like old crypto is because originally Stripe built their payments network on Bitcoin. So they were talking about minutes till approval time. And now we're talking about, seconds or microseconds. So both of these guys have chosen Solana for their payments network. I think that's very, very interesting. You've also seen the major credit card providers also look for payments on Solana. Visa, I know, is making a big move. Interestingly, this week, MasterCard, seemingly, although they have got operations on other chains, seem to be building a payments network on Bitcoin, on Bitcoin L2. So they've gone a slightly different route. But it does feel as though the major payment providers are focused on Solana. I think they're going to dominate stablecoin transfers for the next few years. I don't really see how that gets challenged with the integrations that PayPal and Stripe are putting in. I think you're going to see a huge amount of throughput for Solana TVL. Like it's going to be moving around all the time. So yeah, very, very bullish as a take there. And I just thought, it's just interesting that both of them, having not built it themselves, were so complimentary of this as the rails for it to be built on. Like normally you see these sort of people come in and they'll say, oh, it's all terrible, we're going to build our own version. But they've basically just gone, this is kind of perfect, we're going to use it, and we're just going to partner with them as the blockchain themselves. So yeah, interesting that they are reinventing themselves by essentially just partnering with crypto rather than attempting to try and build their own version of it. So the other thing that
before we move on from there, a lot of concern, I'm sure you guys have seen this too. A lot of people believe it's just Bitcoin season will be Bitcoin season and the old season will be muted. We have had an old season. I remember, Mando, you said about 2 weeks ago, there has been a huge old season. It depends what alt you were in, which is so profound and it's so true. But where do you guys see, both CTO and Mando, when do you see the alt season kick in this time around? Or could it be more muted? Or could it just be continuing memes and select L1s?
I think it's really tough when people talk about alt season because they're often talking about old alts. They're looking at their some chart of an alt that was relevant in 2021 and hasn't really, and it's really just you're hoping for a pump rather than actually seeing massive adoption. We're in a raging bull market. We are like, if someone tells you that you should be waiting for something right now, I just think we are a decent way through this. Part of me thinks this is, we've probably still got 18 months, but I wouldn't be holding your breath for some crazy altcoin season. The altcoin season has largely been memes, and it's been some select L1s which have seen user growth. So like if you're in the TON ecosystem, you've had a great year. If you're in Solana or a lot of the Solana ecosystem, you've also probably had a great year, although a lot of those were like airdrops rather than coins. And if you're in meme coins, you've had a great year. There's been certain different things that we've spoken about, like Link is up since last year because it's being used, and some other oracles are being used. But there's a lot of stuff here where I just don't see it. I just don't see it having an altcoin season. So be very, very aware that if you own an altcoin right now, own one which is seeing adoption, seeing a massive increase in users. You're not going to see a ton of people come in at the last bit of the cycle and go all in on Cardano. So just be super, super like wary of owning stuff that is just not already performed or is imminently about to see millions of users, hundreds of thousands of users.
CTO, old season for you?
I absolutely agree with everything. I mean, the classic mistake that people do is that they fall in love with a coin. They kind of it went up a lot and they made a lot of money on it in the previous cycle and they kind of love it so much. And then they hold it all the way down and sell at the absolute capitulation at the end. It's a very unsuccessful strategy. And I mean, if I can show one more chart, a prime example is maybe Cardano that you mentioned. A lot of people love it very much. While after they had their big upgrade, which I think we pointed out on the day in 2021, it has basically been a straight line down against BTC. And these are kind of big moves downwards. And most altcoins end up looking like this. They go up massively, people fall in love, they buy a lot more of them at the top, and then they hold it all the way down. So if I can share one advice to everyone watching today, try not to get in that trap. At least try to do new mistakes. Don't do the old classic easy mistakes. So because there is kind of a substitution effect. Great things. I'm not trying to pick on this one specifically. It's kind
there's
of
many
the
of
same.
them. Yeah, there's many of them.
There's like it's the majority of projects. We just don't remember them anymore because they get forgotten. But the more successful approach is to look at the current situation, forget about the past, forget about how you got rich back in 2019 or 2021 or whatever pump it was, and try to look forward. What is happening now? What's the new projects that don't have a lot of bag holders and so on, and try to look forward and be surgical. And I think we have been quite successful here on the show to kind of pick a few of the ones that have done very well. And that's the mindset. But then situation might change. Who knows? Maybe it gets replaced again in the future.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty simple. Mando mentioned something very important, and that is look at adoption. So I look at three main things. You follow the money. Where's the money going? Follow the developers. Where are the developers going? Where are they building? And follow the adoption. 2 years ago, Cardano had 200,000 daily active users. 200,000. 2 days ago, they had 25,000 daily active users. And they're in the middle of a bull run. And activity is down 90%. So does anybody see a problem there? Mando?
I mean, it's classic. And then this isn't the only one. There's plenty of L1s. Polkadot, was all the rage back in the day. And I don't know, I can list off like 10 different L1s. So I think you just got to be very aware of that. So if you're waiting for an altcoin season, just there kind of already has been an altcoin season if you were owning the right alts. And I still think some of them, at least for a period, will outperform Bitcoin. Particularly after this ruling from the SEC, it paints a picture that we could see, a movement towards alts. I would say like medium term. So, but I would still be very, very aware of which alts you're going to be buying. For example, even in DeFi, like Uniswap this week, they were thinking about switching to a fee-based model. So, they have a governance token right now, but they were going to switch to a fee distribution model. And DeFi tokens have done terrible, but this was meant to be the big change. Maybe if you own that token, you get a share of the revenues from Uniswap, which isn't tiny. And then they delayed it again and kind of gave no date about when they're going to change that. So again, DeFi tokens, if you've been on all of those and they're all governance token, you've been waiting for that narrative to shift. It may not even happen this cycle. You could be sitting there and it could be down versus Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle. So just be very, very wary of what you're in. So talking about revenue, actually, that is a little bit relevant. What we have seen is, and I brought it up on this show before, Pump.Fund made $1.5 million again a day last week. It is second only to Ethereum in terms of revenue at the moment. Pump.Fund, as we've spoken about before, is the main launch pad for meme coins on Solana. This is where a huge amount of the trading is taking place, I guess where the TVL is moving around as fast. And it's just crazy to see this sort of revenue. I think their lifetime revenue is now approaching or just gone over 30 million. It's now approaching 40 million. But this week you did see some, which is, maybe early signs of a top. You saw some celebrities come in to launch meme coins. They're more like D-list celebrities. Caitlyn Jenner was perhaps the most famous one who came in and launched a meme coin. But you saw a few others that came in, and that saw a big pickup again in pump.fun volumes. I guess without judgment, I'll just give you a little bit of description about what is going on here. So, for example, with all the Trump news that happened, when he got found guilty last week, some people read the news, they go onto X and they'll tweet about it, or they'll speak to their friends about it. Other people go straight onto pump.fun and there will be tokens launched about Trump or about anything related to him, and they'll just go wild. So any piece of news that you'll see, like even today, for example, the Roaring Kitty news, a Kitty token went absolutely wild. A reverse Uno token went absolutely wild because he posted a reverse Uno card. I guess I'm just trying to, again, without judgment, just trying to give you a sense of what is going on here. You are seeing instant financialization of culture. Instant. So any sort of half meme or something that could potentially be a meme, I think even Trump's potential VP name, there was a token behind that which did like 100x last week. So what you're actually seeing is, it sounds like memes, but what you're seeing is instant financialization of culture. And then who knows if it lasts? Like maybe it lasts, maybe it keeps on going, and maybe it doesn't, it just goes to zero. The 99% of them go straight to zero. But this is what people are doing. They are listening to news and they're going straight to pump.fun and they're making tokens and they are trading them, and it's a PvP casino that goes on every single day, and it's only getting bigger. So even if you're just in Solana and you're like, memes are not for me, that is what people are doing. That is what the vast majority of the revenue even for Solana is happening right now. What do you make of all this? Is this just unbelievably bullish for Solana? Do you think this financialization of culture, which pump.fun is allowed, the reason why this has suddenly happened is because pump.fun means you can make a coin within seconds. Like we could go on there right now and make one in seconds, and any of the viewers could. Like it takes literally a name, a picture, and a little bit of Solana to get you started, and you're done. What do you think? Is this just where we could be? And I kind of feel bullish for the idea we're going to see memes taking over here.
Yeah, it's I don't know where to start. It is very interesting, actually. And I mean, it's kind of the NFT idea that you kind of have something which is some sort of idea or art or something. It's not really it's not art, but it's not a technical function as opposed to all the previous blockchain projects. They had to have like a narrative. We're going to solve this problem. We're going to solve payments. We're going to solve trading. We're going to solve world peace, or something. Here then came kind of NFTs saying, we don't solve anything. Here's a rock, and there's like 10,000 of them, and they kind of look similar. We want to buy it. Yes, says everyone. I want to buy it, and I want to pay like millions for it. Seems like a great rock. It's kind of distill everything down to just speculation. And then meme coins is kind of taking that even further, because one problem with NFTs is that it's big, right? So it's hard to speculate a little bit. How do you get started? You can't start speculating on punks or something, if you want to trade it a little bit. So then comes meme coins, which kind of the same idea. They don't do anything. They explicitly don't do anything. They just have a name and a picture, and you can trade it. And then what does that lead to then? Of course, it leads to two things. It leads to some people getting very rich, making a lot of money, and kind of marketing this concept. It also creates a large number of coins, unlimited number of coins, and most of them don't go anywhere. And then this platform, pump.fun, trying to kind of create some sort of structure in this and the platform for it. I don't know where it will go. I just see that there will come regulation here at the end of it, and they're going to go back in time, like they did with the ICOs and everything. Everyone thought it was fine. Then it came like 5 years later.
They're not raising any money. There's no raising of money here. So it's a pool. That's why I think they've got away with it. Well, seemingly why it's different from the ICOs. Like somebody just creates the concept, and then it's more crowd funded rather than, right, you give me your money and then I agree to do something. I feel like this is going to be a
is it correct? That's actually the key question I have, because I'm reading here on the pump.fun. If I can share the screen again, the pump.fun homepage, they say exactly that the coins here are safe, in quotation mark, then that each coin on pump is fair launch with no pre-sale and no team allocation. But is that really correct? Is it correct? Do you know that? Or is like the creator here still, profiting from it?
Well, the creator, the last bit is the bit that I would question, because the actual developer of the coin, when he creates the coin, does the first transaction. So he buys the first amount. So often the developer will end up with a portion of the tokens themselves. That being said, he doesn't then go out there and ask for funds or anything like that. Like, it's from that point on, it's whoever wants to be part of it can be part of it.
I just feel that, say that
on timing.
That's a hypothetical scenario. Say that we would go there now, and we don't do it on live stream. We do it, 10 minutes before. We create a DCA coin, and then no one knows about the DCA coin, so we buy a lot of it, right? And then we go on the show and say, guys, we've done a meme coin. It's really great, and so on. You should, consider it. People would go there and buy. It's going to go up, and we would make money. So I can't see how that could be permitted. I don't get it, sort of.
So I think that's a key point. So what you do see is some gamesmanship of this. So like, people will, although it's fair launch, so anyone can, as soon as it's created, anyone can join. You do see people like banding together and buying the early supply and then releasing the information. Some of these celebrities actually actively did that. So they bought some of their own supply at the start and then said, hey, this is my meme coin. So I would agree with you in that scenario. It might be a little bit more difficult, but from the point that it is issued, anyone can buy it. And actually what you tend to see is, as soon as a coin is made, a ton of different bots come in and buy it, and people just buy any coin that gets launched. So arguably it is more gray area than some sort of pre-sale where, we all split up the coins beforehand and then we say, hey, this is our coin, and then it moons. Like, anyone could have bought it from the moment it's created. It's slightly different in that scenario. But what I guess I'm seeing here is just, this is a form of a casino. This is people spending money at the casino, essentially. And if the money at the casino people spend is like 1 trillion a year or in the hundreds of billions per year, this is now becoming a very, very casino-like product on Solana or any chain. But I see this really, it's on Base as well. Base has got options around it as well. But this is becoming one of the primary use cases of the blockchain this cycle. You can't ignore it. It is what is happening. Like, any sort of news, people are going on there. Like, right now we're seeing thousands of coins being created just in the background there. People are doing this, and I think it's something that it makes me very bullish on Solana. I still have reserved judgment about what it means for everything else long term, but I do think that the idea that people are going to go on, and you've now got this world where memes are incredibly powerful and you can suddenly financialize them. I think that there's something quite cool about it at the same time. Although, yes, it can be gamed and there's rugs and it's terrible. Like, memes are just becoming more and more powerful.
I think it's very cool. I love it. I'm just trying to wrap my hand around the whole ecosystem somehow. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and it's a great question here from CryptoKitty. How long before the SEC comes after pump.fun? You cannot regulate this stuff. Again, crypto blockchain, it moves at the speed of light, and government moves at the speed of government, and regulation moves at the speed of regulation. So by the time they even try, they're already years behind. So it's fascinating. I wouldn't want to be a regulator trying to keep on top of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, launching a token, there's no easy way to do it, I would say. But what I would say is, if I was to pick a way which is perhaps the most regulatory compliant, I would have done what pump.fun did. And it may not even be regulatory compliant. Like, I can't think of another way for them to do it where like anyone can create a token and it'd be more. But yeah, they could easily have people come for them. But that being said, they're not the only one. These meme launch pads, like I said, they're on Base right now, and Coinbase's chain. Like, I think there's been 500,000 coins made on Base in the last 2 months alone, or 3 months alone. So this is not just a Solana thing. This is what a lot of chains will look to try and emulate in terms of use cases. I'd be very unsurprised if you see like Avalanche, Phantom, all these other guys come in and do it. Anyway, the other big winner that we've seen recently in terms of crypto adoption has been Polymarket. And Polymarket is an incredibly interesting company. It is, again, going down the speculation gambling route, but it is PvP bets between people, prediction markets they're called. But it's essentially, we can kind of go on to Polymarket, but you basically choose an outcome, and let's say Donald Trump to be elected as the next president, and you're able to trade on a market between other people. Some people can bet yes, some people bet no, and the UI UX is quite nice. It just shows you the percentage chance of, let's say, Trump being the next president. It's been very popular going into it's going to be very popular going into the election. I think they did $65 million of trading last month, and they've just raised from Peter Thiel 45 million, along with a number of very well-known crypto venture firms, including Vitalik as well, who's the co-founder of Ethereum. What do you make of this? This is another huge use case potentially of blockchain. It's mainly on ETH and Matic, I believe, Polygon.
It's Polygon, yeah.
Yeah.
There is no token. So everybody, don't go buy a fake Polymarket token. There is no token for this yet. Yeah, no, but I'm a huge believer. There's two things I love about this. One, it's a simplicity, like you mentioned. Two, it's a zero-sum game. Like it's A or B, and you can bet any way you want. You can bet a couple of cents on something if you want. It's a lot of fun. And I do believe blockchain gaming, betting, online casinos are a huge market. I mean, you mentioned, I think, 65 million or billion. This thing has wagered already on the US election, $235 million, $250 million on the US election. And that's in a short window of time. So I think it's a fascinating use case. I don't know why every chain doesn't pop one of these things up, because it's not hard to do. You know, you could even take a hybrid of this, like a pump.fun with a Polymarket hybrid, have people create their own little betting scenarios on whatever they want. Why not do that? It's a genius idea, by the way.
I think this big raise from Peter Thiel, the Founders Fund, which is his main fund, has really got people thinking about this. Like this could be another huge use case. If we're talking about meme coin launchpads, prediction markets, if you speak to anyone who runs an L1 or an L2, they're like, right, I want to have one of these on my blockchain.
Yep.
What do you think about this, CTO?
Yeah, can I share the screen? Because, I absolutely love this. If this one had a coin, which it doesn't have, I would have bought it. I would have bought it. I love this. I mean, how can you not think this is fun? Here's like presidential election winner, Donald Trump 54%, Joe Biden 38%. Will Trump be in jail before election day? 18% chance is the current betting. Next UK Prime Minister. There's like everything. First cat to $1 billion. Pop cat 15%. Airdrops. You can bet on, French Open winner. Carlos Alcaraz, right? 67%. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Indian election. It's like there is so much here. This is so fun. Just scrolling down here and kind of, will Fauci wear a mask during June 3 hearing? 2%. It's like, it is so fun. I love this. You can learn about people's opinions about all kinds of things. This is one of the best and most fun use cases in ages. And I agree with James. Why doesn't all the chains build one? If someone is watching here, you should go and build it, probably.
Yeah, I think it's the main thing is you need liquidity. You need people who come in and want to do these sort of markets. One thing Polymarket became big on is like more bespoke stuff. So yes, huge around the elections, but they'll do the Fauci mask thing, and they'll put up a number of Elon Musk tweets between May 31st and June 7th. Like you don't normally find that in normal casino bookmaker. So they have more bespoke things that you can have fun betting on. So yeah, a lot of people think this is the reason why Vitalik. You might be like, why is Vitalik investing in this? Part of this comes down to the idea of like crypto finding truth. right? Crypto being the arbiter of truth in the world, like the idea of having these sort of these prediction markets is helping us get into a better point of truth in the world, which a lot of people in crypto are behind. You know, they think there's a lot of fake news, and this just seems like a good arbiter of that. There has been some controversy around it as well, because I think right now the actual governance behind it is like they have their own like council who decides if an event has happened or not. So, for example, there was one last week, which was whether the ETH ETF had happened, and they voted that it had happened. But arguably, the ETH ETFs haven't happened yet. They're not coming out till next month. The S1 filings hadn't happened yet, but the council decided that it had happened, and there was some controversy around that sort of stuff. So I don't think it's as clean as just getting to the truth, but I do think I can imagine what the token could be used for. You know, those sort of votes around getting to the truth of this sort of stuff, and it's an interesting use case. I think this again will be you'll see tons of poly markets, or they'll move to different chains. There's no doubt that poly markets saying, hey, we want to go to all these different sort of chains and be big on them. So yeah, another interesting use case of crypto, both of them speculation, both of them in slightly different routes. Feels as though people like to speculate and that's what drives volumes. Anyway, that was all we had, I think, for this week on DCA. Unfortunately, we were rallying into the open, and then we never really broke out, and we're kind of just hanging out slightly lower. But hopefully this time next week, we have broken to the upside. We're out of the boredom zone for another week. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to leave with anything for this week, but
yeah,
it's been,
Mando, can you for
great.
people who do not know, can you explain the banana zone real quick and where it came from?
Banana zone is a wild term that Raoul Pal came up with probably a few weeks ago, but apparently it was from a few months ago, talking about the fact that, you know, the curvature shape of a banana is how he saw this market seasonally. So we were entering the banana zone, we'd be entering the upward turn of that parabola over the summer. He said it a few weeks ago, and it's now become like crypto vernacular. Like everyone's using it as just like a funny thing about how we can go parabolic over the summer. I do believe in it. He kind of points back to economic trends like the ISM and liquidity being the main things. But I think we could be entering the banana zone, but we are in the flatter bit in the middle of the banana, let's say, for now, where nothing's really going on. And don't lose faith. You know, be in spot if you don't want to degen so hard. We are going higher. It's just a case of when, not if.
And CTO, can you create one of your banana zones on your chart?
I love the statement there, Mando. We're in the middle of the banana zone. So yeah, good way to put it.
Good.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and we will see you next week. Hopefully at a higher price. And yeah, thanks for speaking today.
Thank you, Mando, and thank you, CTO Larsson. Great to see you guys and everybody here in the audience too. Awesome show. Enjoy the banana zone. Let's hope we break that glass. 73.8. Let's do our little predictions for next week. Will we break a new all-time high within a week?
And I said it the last 2 weeks, and we've just been in the same price every single time.
Yeah. So
I think we break it. Why not? I'll go for third time lucky this time.
CTO, we're going to break that glass.
I don't know. It's kind of course, I hope so. But I'm not sure. The flows are good. Yields are kind of dropping. I think it's at least possible. Yeah, but I have to say that I don't advise anyone to buy on prediction here, because it's so close to the breakout. It's better risk reward to buy at. It's sometimes better risk reward to buy at higher prices but lower risk, because then you can kind of protect your downside.
And measuring it, we are exactly 1, 2, 3, like 5.6% from the all-time high. And considering we just had a 2.3% move today, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. But we need the money flow. I need people to stop selling, manipulation to stop happening, and then we go. So have a great week, everybody. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Mando, for the show. And thank you, CTO, as well.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.